Hello. What month is it? It's May. It's May. So here's what I would maybe suggest, just to like take a second, right? To sort of settle in and remember that the goal today is insight. And let me give you just some context for what we're going to talk about. Because our guest today is Christy Raines. Christy's a long time, maybe even founding member. I don't know how long, founding member of the Society of Advice, been around for a long time, and I've been excited about having this conversation because I'm an unabashed fan of lifestyle businesses. And the reason I'm a huge fan is because that's what I built. And the firm was always designed around the freedom of the owner. Given, of course, without saying it, we all understand, given the service to the clients, of course. So Christy has built that. And we're going to go into detail. Christy's been generous enough to go into really specific detail about what the firm looks like, how she did it. This is very uncomfortable for anyone to do. And I'm sure Christy feels the same way. So I want you just to treat it like an adventure journal, right? It's not meant to be prescriptive. It's just meant to be, here's Christy's experience. Christy's going to share some very specific numbers. And when we share these numbers, this group, we're all a little averse to the like, how much money do you manage question, right? Like that's the cute lifestyle, the anti-cute lifestyle practice question. But Christy's going to talk about it, not because it matters to you or really to her. It's just a signifier that this thing is possible. What she wanted to build is possible. So just take all of that and sort of try to translate it to like, what does it mean for me? Like, what do I want to build? And see what shows up. So with that, Christy, welcome.
Thank you.
We're glad you're here. And this is this unique opportunity for you to join without being on your phone out on a trail.
I know. Look, I actually go to work sometimes.
Yeah, we're so glad. So why and how did this become so important to you? This sort of very intentional approach to designing the business.
So, first of all, I love the adventure journal, right? Like that's what I'm really viewing this as. So, like my adventure as it stands today and is that we have four kids. They are 10, Hannah's 10, Kelly's 9, Lauren is 5, and Reed is 1. And as it stands today, we have 9 summers left as a family, as a family of 6. And the whole like counting summers, not something really that new. But what I feel like is new and is novel is the fact that we really exploded our entire lives. And I've built the whole business around this idea of building wealth without regret. And what that really looks like for my husband and I is being so intentional about balancing our professional ambitions with the family that we dreamed about. So the 9 summers, that's my huge signal, right? That's my big why, right? When you say start with why, like what's my why? It's that I've brought these 4 little humans into this world, and I wanted to design a business that not only worked for me, but worked for them.
You have some math that you use, and not just for you, but you apparently use it with clients too. Like walk us through the sort of exercise that you went through that you also take clients through occasionally.
So I built this spreadsheet, which I warn you, may change your life. So like it shocks me that every person on the planet doesn't have this. But this is the fact that when you really think about the experiences that you want to have, be it if you have kids, if you don't have kids, if you're married, if you're not married. I mean, maybe this maybe this chart is the ages of your parents or the ages of your siblings, right? If you're an adult. But like when you put it down on paper and you really think about all the things that you want to do and how much effort, for me, it's travel, right? Like how much effort all of those adventures and those experiences take, you run out of time so fast. You can see, so here, right? we're looking dead on this summer, 2024, the ages of our kids, and then what grade they're starting in the fall, right? And I keep this as a Google sheet on my phones because I constantly find that I'm referencing it. This is, in 9 summers, at the end of the summer, we will be most likely dropping Hannah off at college. And the dynamic of our family will shift forever, right? Who knows? She could come home, you never know, but like my chance to really kind of have an impression on that narrative of her life, right? That's a chapter that ends. When I made this, I was like, how could this go wrong, right? And I don't really see any way that being intentional about your time and being intentional about what you're doing with your life is something that you're going to regret. I'm a huge almost bully, right? About getting people to balance it and to be very intentional about how they're spending their time today. And so I use this chart, I make this chart for all of our clients where it's appropriate, where if they have kids, and I can tell you, in the giant financial plans that I create, and it's assuming I'm presenting it to a husband and wife. For one of them, when I ask at the end of the meeting, like, what's your biggest takeaway? They're like, the chart.
Mm.
Because it blows their mind. They've never seen it in that way.
Yeah, so interesting. And I do just want to mention too, this idea of always like, and I think it's important for us to be thinking about, and this is one of the things we'll talk about in the retreat with Amy Mullen in August, is the things you'll regret on your deathbed. We know this clearly now are going to be the things you didn't do, not the things you tried and failed. You're not going to wish you had more money, all that stuff. So I think this is a really good way. Tell me, so with clients, you actually use a very similar spreadsheet. Like it's the same thing, just
I use
replicated.
the exact same one. Yeah, I use the exact same one with them. It's super handy spreadsheet to have, not just for the client, but just internally with your teams and stuff. Because so much of your planning is like, wait, what year are they going to start in college? What year are they graduating from college? When do they turn 59? How old are the kids going to be? Like, when is the mortgage going to get paid off? Like, it's a super and I have like another column of that, which catalogs all the experiences. Because I say, like experiences, it's not just investments that are an asset that appreciate in value. Right, it's those experiences.
So I think that's a beautiful thing. And Brian asked if you'd share the spreadsheet. Jacqueline answered, just so everybody knows, it will be in the portal for the full month. A version of that spreadsheet will be available for you to I think it'll probably be a Google sheet that you can just hit copy, right?
Yeah. Like I say, fair warning, sit down with your husband or wife, or sit down with your partner, yourself, your family, and do it. And my bet is you'll book a vacation this summer.
For a while, I used to build this like timeline for clients that like, remember that trip? Like it's just noted on this timeline that Christy's pointing to, right? Remember you guys moved to New Zealand? Remember when you took 3 months off and traveled? Remember like the single trip you took to, like my wife really wants to go to Sweden to see ancestors. Like, remember that? Well, that to me, that gets down. This is a little hype of her hyperbole, but not really. You're dream makers if you start thinking about that. Like, what's that worth to someone?
So
And I don't want to talk and spend any time on this, but as opposed to Christy has found it insanely valuable to have the raising the fee conversation in person versus email. You've intentionally done that.
I only do it in person.
It's
Right.
fascinating.
It's
Yeah,
not a fee, Carl.
that's exactly right. That's right. What is it? What is it called?
The cost.
The cost or the investment of working with me, the
Yeah,
investment
no,
you make in this
right.
relationship.
I call it the cost drop. Everyone else. So this is another small tweak in the language that I use that I think is super powerful is I don't use the word fee. To me, fee implies a fine, a penalty, something you want to avoid. Like you want to avoid transaction fees and credit card fees. Like it's a fee. It has no value to it. It's just a penalty. Whereas the cost you pay for our services, our cost structure implies like I'm paying a cost for something, but I'm getting something in return. for this.
Yeah.
It's an exchange of value. And then at some point, like to me, this was the last domino, was changing my cost structure on existing clients. So I think we talk about the change in cost structure on existing clients first, and then we'll go to saying no.
Yep.
But it's easy to change your cost structure on new clients. It's just like, here's our cost structure. But to sit across the table from someone that I've been working with for 5, 10, 15 years and essentially demanding more value, more money for what it is that we do, probably the most knee-knocking thing that I've ever done in the business. And so contrary to what Blair was saying last month, we have one service model. We've
Wait a
tried.
sec. Wait. I just want to put a pin in something. You're allowed to say things contrary to what Blair brought down from the mountain carved in stone. So anyway, I just thank you for disagreeing with Blair. And you disagree with Blair in a way that the same way I disagree with Blair, which was I wasn't smart enough to have, you wouldn't say this, but I wasn't smart enough to have all these different models.
No,
I see the value of it, and we're already seeing. In fact, we had a new member who used Blair's thing last and landed a $10 million client after his first experience at the society. I told him he owed me money. It was just a joke. So it's useful if it works for you, great, and you have permission to do it differently. So tell us.
Yes. So we have one thing that we do, and we charge one cost for it versus, having, like, if we had 3 different categories of clients with 3 different service models, right? Like, that's 9 service models you have to maintain.
Right.
And my team, right? Like, someone comes in with we've got a rental property. Can you help us? Like, do we have capital gains to offset that? And I'd be like, they're like, what service model are they in? And do we address outside investments? It's like, oh God, I don't have time. I want to help everybody. I want to answer all your questions. I want to do it all. So I was like, we have to be paid appropriately. So I've really taken the approach in building the firm that our average revenue per client is now our new minimum. So talking about revenue, right? So the hardest part is this whole thing of talking about going back to current clients and changing the cost structure. And so I do it differently than Blair does, right? And I have this as a face-to-face meeting with the clients. And this will be in the package, I think, the exact script is that I use for this, because it is a very exact script. We are still in the process of this. I have had 25 conversations with current clients over the past 3 years, and I have raised their costs on the first $1 million of AUM with us from 1% to 1.5%, which translates, we can all do the math, right? About $5,000 roughly per conversation. Mm. So we're looking right at about 125 from having, comes back to, okay, Christy, like, what problem do you want? I could very well, like, 1% is great, but like, we do so much more. Like, I want to be in the seat of charging a relatively premium price for a premium value. And so I decided to, take this head on with the whole thing of, okay, what problem do you want? I can continue to be paid fine and over delivering on all the services that we provide, and I never have to have a hard conversation about it. Or I can put my big girl pants on and put it on the agenda so I can't chicken out from it and have this conversation with my clients and say, I address it as a housekeeping item. I talk about how our current cost structure is and what it's going to be going forward. And the most shocking thing of this conversation has been that it has only strengthened our relationships with our clients and the value that we provide. And the responses that we have received from our clients have been so validating as to how we do this. And it's very particular, right? Like, I have the whole spreadsheet of, like, if somebody says no, I've got to be ready for them to walk. Like, I've got to be ready for that revenue to walk and for them to, because I'm not going to say, okay, we'll water down our services and keep you at the same cost structure, right? Like, so I have to do the math of saying, okay, if this person walks, how many people do I need to get to say yes so that it's revenue neutral? And now I just have fewer clients.
And you do that in person with it on the agenda
Yep.
and just have the conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Quickly, Christy, it's rapid fire. How do you deal with the confidence to do this? Like when you start to feel like, what in the hell am I doing? Like, how do you deal with it?
So the best tip that I have when I have that crisis of confidence, because I do, is I pick up the phone and I call a client.
Love this.
Like, it turns out relationships are the stress regulators in our lives. And I just pick up the phone, and I just call Diane, and could not be more thrilled to hear from me. Right. And we just chat, and it's just like, she's, telling me what's going on. And inevitably, right, she's, it's like, I just cannot thank you enough. Like, I cannot tell you how much I'm enjoying my life now and how content we feel. And, Bob and I were just talking about you last week, and
Yeah.
like, and then you're like, okay, like, I mean, it's a win-win for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's the best feeling in the world. So if you're ever feeling like, I hate this job, how am I going to handle this? Like, oh, this is such a hard week. Like, just pick up the phone and call a client,
Yeah.
and they'll be so happy to hear from you.
So fun. Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here. And we'll see some of you next week at the retreat. And then we'll see the rest of you in June, where I think we're talking about the freedom formula in June. So excited about it. Cheers, everybody. Thanks, Christy.
Boris, thank you. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, everybody.
Question number one. What insight did today's conversation spark for you?
So I furiously took about 10 pages of notes during that call. It was immediately, I realized somehow you must have brought Christy on just to talk to me.
Yeah.
The thing she said about we do one thing
Hmm.
and we don't have like 10 different models for 10 different types of people. That was like, thank you for
Yeah.
permission to do that.
Thank you for that. No, Noah, what would you say was the one insight you took away?
Well, I want to say this. I think today's conversation was a perfect mix of tactical
Hmm.
things you can apply, plus a whole bunch of thought-provoking feelings that made me feel uncomfortable in a good way. Very much relate to her on having kids in that age, and never. Of course, I've heard the whole we only have so many summers, but for whatever reason, putting it into a spreadsheet resonated with me.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really, really neat. But I think the biggest insight is I always get something out of these conversations. When I get on the Zoom, whether or not I'm interested in the topic or the presenter, there's always something I pull out of it every single time.
Thank you for that. Jennifer, I'm curious, are you in a place where you can talk?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm actually just trying to replicate what she's doing. Like I'm a flat fee only, and I work with first generation working professionals.
Hmm.
And I think the thing that I felt most motivated about was like to be able to have like I saw her first couple years. I'm on year 2, going on to year 3 of launch,
Hmm.
and it's just been a slower start this year. I've been a little bit discouraged, but I kind of even seeing her progression of
Hmm.
she was only bringing on like net 4 new clients every year after the like from year 2 to 3 and then I think even thereafter, right? And so just seeing the growth being a little bit more steady,
Hmm.
and that probably says a lot to her being able to say no, more often than not. So for me, my one takeaway was to not be discouraged and
Hmm.
to continue on my path and just know that I am doing the right thing. So
Yeah, no, it's nice to hear from somebody who still doubts, right? Chris, what do you think you'll do differently as a result of being on today's call?
This is what I wrote down for myself. I show a lack of prioritization by making too many things dictate my time through that magical word urgency.
Mm.
And that tends to be the truth of who I am. There's so many people, and I almost missed this call because something urgent came up. And I had to ask myself, I had to say, it's so easy to see mistakes in others, but not in myself. And I've wondered whether or not I need to have someone that would look on my schedule and go, you're not allowed to do that, because that's the advisor's job, is to stop you from that big mistake, with your drawing that you have. So anyway, that's where I landed today, and it very impactful for me.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for that. Let me switch the question just a little bit. Brian, you've been around a while and incredibly thoughtful, and like we've run in many of the same circles. And how do you show up for these monthly workshops and get the most out of them?
If you go into it the mindset that there's something that I can learn, that I can take away, but I am okay with the fact that I don't know what that is before I show up, then I think you get a lot out of it. And I think the other piece too that you do such a good job of, and why we've hung out together for so long, online at least, is because you insert those intentional pauses there. I think you did it a couple times on the call today where you said, let's just take a minute and make sure everybody realizes, how we feel about this, or before we pull up the spreadsheet with all the numbers and so forth. Again, it's something we do, or probably should be doing more for our clients. It's something it's hard to do for yourself. And I think you provide a space where that's the standard, not the exception. And I think that's what makes this space different.
Greetings, Carl here. Listen, are you like me and the thousands of advisors I've spoken to, where we struggle to figure out how to make the most of the limited time we have each day to grow, unapologetically, grow your firm? Or maybe you feel like you're constantly getting stuck in the weeds and you don't have time to focus on the things we know are really important, your top priorities. Or do you struggle with the idea of like feeling it in your bones, like you're this close to making a bigger impact on the world, your clients, and your revenue without sacrificing your own well-being? I've heard this from thousands of you, and that's why we did this workshop at the Society of Advice and invited Christy Raines, a founding member of the Society of Advice, one of my favorite financial planners in the world, and more importantly, one of my favorite humans, to join us, because Christy has built unapologetically, she has designed her firm around what is important to her. This is a celebration of a lifestyle firm, which I am so excited about. Like, where else do you get to have this kind of conversation? All in an effort to solve one of the biggest problems we all face, which is, how do I grow my firm without sacrificing my well-being? So we hold workshops like this every month at the Society of Advice. Workshops that are focused on the most pressing problems that you face as an advisor and how to solve them. Now, this workshop is available for 30 days from the time we recorded it to watch. All you have to do to see it is join the Society of Advice. And here's the kicker: your first month is free, which means you get to see this recording and you can attend our next live workshop. Now, I didn't do that. I didn't say, join now, get your first month free, as a sales pitch. I did it because I literally don't know how to explain to you the impact this will have on your life and your career. I know that to be true. We're going on 4 years of these workshops now. Hundreds and hundreds of people have told us the impact it has. So guess what? I don't know how to explain it to you. So I just want to make it risk-free for you to find out for yourself. Come see for yourself. Join, and your first month is free. And you can watch this workshop on how to grow your firm in a way that's intentionally designed for you, for what you care about, in a way that won't sacrifice your own well-being. So to join now, just go to the societyofadvice.com. That's the societyofadvice.com, and enjoy this workshop and our next live call. Cheers, my friends.